Japan is a land of fascinating contrasts, where ancient traditions sit side by side with futuristic technology, and every meal feels like a culinary masterpiece. But while it's easy to get swept up in the country's beauty and innovation, there are a few cultural landmines you'll want to avoid. Imagine accidentally offending someone with a well-intentioned greeting or making a serious faux pas at dinner. Trust us, you don't want that. In this guide, we'll reveal the 10 things you should never say to a Japanese person, so you can experience Japan without the awkwardness and maybe even earn a few extra smiles along the way. Ready to avoid the cringe-worthy moments? Let's dive in. In Japanese culture, sending food back is seen as highly disrespectful, as it disregards the chef's time, skill, and the artistry involved in preparing the dish. Similarly, leaving your plate half full can also be considered impolite, as it may suggest dissatisfaction or wastefulness. If you're served something you don't enjoy, the respectful approach is to quietly finish it if possible, as this shows gratitude for the effort that went into its creation. Alternatively, take small bites and focus on the parts you can appreciate, such as the freshness of the fish or the quality of the rice. By eating what's served, you honor the cultural value placed on food and the effort of those who prepared it. In Japan, respect is more than just a concept. It's woven into the very fabric of the language. The use of first names is a serious business. Picture this. You're at a fancy dinner, and you casually call your boss by their first name without adding "san" at the end. Immediately, the room goes silent, and you might as well have thrown your chopsticks across the table. It's akin to a Westerner addressing their manager as, "Hey Dave," at a formal meeting. It's jarring. In Japan, first names are reserved for close friends and family. If you're not on that level, you're expected to use their last name followed by the honorific "san," like Tanaka-san or Sato-san. For kids, the honorific changes slightly, kun for boys and chan for girls, although it's still better not to use them unless you're close. So, unless you've known someone for years and have shared a hot pot meal or two, resist the urge to skip straight to the first name. Unless, of course, you enjoy awkward silences. Here's a mistake even the best-intentioned language learners make: adding "san" to your own name when introducing yourself. Imagine you're at a party and you say, "Watashi wa David-san desu," I am David-san. To the Japanese ear, that's like someone calling themselves master of all knowledge in a room full of people who've barely met you. It's weird, right? It's a classic case of thinking you're being polite, but actually, you're just creating an awkward moment. Honorifics in Japan are all about showing respect to others, not yourself. So when introducing yourself, just say, "Watashi wa David desu," I am David. Think of it as if you were wearing a superhero cape. No need to call yourself Captain Awesome for the world to see it. Let your actions and respect speak for themselves. Sayonara seems like the perfect word to use when saying goodbye, right? It's dramatic, final, and has that nice cinematic feel to it. You could picture it, waving dramatically as a train pulls out of the station and shouting, "Sayonara!" But here's the catch. Sayonara is actually reserved for long goodbyes, like when you're leaving for a year or moving to a different country, or maybe even a different dimension. Using it to say goodbye after a casual hangout feels like you're making a bigger deal than it needs to be. Imagine waving off a friend after coffee and shouting, "Sayonara!" You'd look like you're heading off to war, not just the bus stop. For more casual occasions, just go with "ja mata," see you later, or "ja ni," bye. You could even throw in a "matan," a little more casual, meaning see you again. Think of it like waving a hand in the air with a smile, not like you're leaving a dramatic, tear-jerking movie scene. In Japan, when you're offered food, especially in someone's home, the polite thing to do is not to immediately take it. If you grab that sushi roll too quickly, you might just appear rude, like that person at a party who jumps on the cheese platter before everyone else has even noticed it. In Japan, you're expected to decline the first offer as a sign of modesty. When your host says, "Would you like some more tea?" the polite response is something like "Kekko desu," no thank you, or "Ii desu," no, it's okay. Here's where it gets interesting. The host will probably insist, and that's when you should graciously accept with something like "Ja itadakimasu," Okay, I will humbly receive this. It's a little like when your grandmother insists you eat more food after already serving you 3 helpings. You've got to go through the motions first, even if you're secretly stuffed and don't want another bite. If you've ever politely refused dessert and then caved when your host pushes it on you, you're halfway to understanding this charmingly ritualistic aspect of Japanese hospitality. In the West, we love a good compliment. "Wow, you're amazing," we say, beaming with pride and responding with a sincere, "Thank you." But in Japan, humility is the name of the game. Instead, the proper response is to downplay the compliment, often with a little i.e., no, or zen, not at all. If someone admires your language skills, instead of puffing up your chest and saying, "Thank you, I worked so hard," try humbly replying, "I still have a lot to learn." You're not fishing for more compliments, you're deflecting like a modest ninja. Trust me, the Japanese will love you for it. Bringing up Japan's WU2 history or asking why they still have an emperor might feel like an innocent question to you, but it's like walking into a room and turning on the awkwardness spotlight. Imagine sitting down to dinner, enjoying some sushi, and suddenly blurting out, "So why didn't you guys get rid of the emperor after the war?" Your host might respond with polite silence while thinking, "Great, now I need extra sake to survive this conversation." Instead, stick to lighter topics. If you're intrigued by the emperor's role, try asking about Japan's beautiful palaces or the significance of New Year's traditions. You'll avoid stepping on any cultural landmines and still learn something fascinating. Japanese people value harmony and flow in conversation, so asking a barrage of questions can feel like they're being grilled on a game show. Imagine your host serving tea, and instead of enjoying the moment, you bombard them. "Why do you bow so much? Do you meditate? What's the deal with vending machines? Why no trash cans?" They'll politely try to answer, but inside, they're probably thinking, "Is this tea? Or am I in a verbal obstacle course?" Take it slow. Comment on something specific like the tea itself, and let the conversation unfold naturally. You'll get better answers, and your host won't feel like they need a nap afterward. When you're in Japan, avoid saying, "Isn't it hard to live in a country with so many rules?" Japan does have a lot of social norms and expectations, but this comment can sound judgmental. The rules and traditions are part of what keeps things running smoothly and respectfully in Japan. Many people actually appreciate these guidelines because they help maintain peace and harmony. What might seem like strict rules to outsiders are really just ways of showing respect and consideration for others. So instead of seeing them as a burden, it's better to understand them as a big part of Japanese culture. Imagine riding a tranquil Japanese train surrounded by people quietly reading or napping. When someone yells, "I got laid last night," congratulations, you've just become the most interesting and annoying person in the car. In Japan, outbursts, whether from joy or frustration, are seen as disruptive and immature. Locals might smile politely, but inside they're thinking, "Why is this person channeling their inner Godzilla on a perfectly peaceful morning?" Instead, keep your reactions measured. If you're thrilled about the nightlife in Japan, a quiet comment like, "Japanese women are super nice," will get you approving nods rather than side eyes. The word "hi" in Japanese does not always translate directly to yes. Instead, it often means "I acknowledge" or "I understand." This subtlety can lead to confusion, especially when discussing plans or agreements. For example, if a waiter repeats your order and you reply with "hi," it might just confirm you heard them rather than showing approval. Clarifying your intent with additional context can prevent misunderstandings. By being aware of these cultural nuances, you can navigate Japanese social interactions with greater respect and understanding, ensuring your visit leaves a positive impression. Have you encountered any cultural surprises while traveling? Share your stories in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more travel tips.